Hello world, I'm Mandy Mundo and welcome to our cruise. The first stop is Oslo, Norway.
Luckily here, the ship docked right next to the main fortress, just a short walk into the town center, whereas in Copenhagen, it would have been about an hour walk to the town center. So here was much more walking friendly. We only recently discovered that most cities have free walking tours, and since Scandinavia, anywhere you go is so expensive, we are definitely taking advantage of that here.
We saw different statues and landmarks, and our guide was originally from Poland and moved to Norway. She told us about the high school students during the month of May who party up until their graduation for a couple weeks, and they rent out party buses to do that.
Our guide told us that there are only a few free bathrooms in the city. One is in the public library and one is in the opera house. So I'm just finding all kinds of free stuff today. The opera house was built to resemble a glacier, so it's got these jagged edges and peaks, and you can walk up it and walk inside of it, all free! Not too bad. That's our ship. Jeremy, iceberg right ahead. And then we got the pølse, which is the Norwegian sausage or hot dog on a flatbread with some crispy onions. And Jeremy says that he would rather have it on a bun. I agree. And unfortunately it doesn't have anything on the Icelandic hot dogs that we had, but that's okay. We're here at one of the bars that's built on a boat on the harbor, and I looked at the menu. A cocktail is about $15. So I'm not getting a cocktail, but Jeremy got a beer and it was only $10. That's right, just 10. Cheaper than 15. Our next stop is the town of Kristiansand.
As you get off the boat, you come to this nice little pier with some shops and a fish market. They did sell whale meat at this market and other places we went to as well, but you are not allowed to bring it back on board the ship. We did schedule an excursion here, but before that starts in the afternoon, we decided to walk along the town on our own.
We got this map at the cruise terminal, and it has a walking path that you can take, outlined by these little red dots, and then it has different sites of interest along the way and tells you about them. So it's our own free version of a walking tour. perfect weather today. Not too hot, not too cold. We took this cruise at the end of August, beginning of September, so I assume it's right before it gets cold in Norway. Our excursion takes us to the small town of Millisand, where we're doing another walking tour.
Well, quite frankly.
This is what I like the best. The smaller towns that you don't even know exist. Very little people, very old school. I would come back here.
One time, one lobster, one time. That was the trade between our two countries. And still we have a very large export of lobster from Norway, from the fish market in front of your ship. One of the people in particular.
And for the next part of the excursion, we get to go on a wooden boat cruise along the coast because we haven't spent enough time on a boat already.
Ja, links sehen wir also etwas Weißes. Ich sage, das ist
in Millisand city that we are known to be called the white coastline. The same goes with the summer houses, summer cabins you see on the right hand side. So what about the smaller red painted house close to the water? They are supposed
It turns out that the red houses are actually little boat houses that people sleep in. As we were cruising, Jeremy spots some jellyfish, so now I had to catch them too. After a day at sea, we arrived at the Fjord city of Flam. We did an excursion here as well that took us on a bus ride along some scenic points and got to see this marvelous view of the fjords.
On this excursion, we're riding along the snowy road, which is actually closed during the winter because it's impassable. And then we are taking a trip to Lærdal, which is a salmon fishing village. Is this where the salmon are? Well, this is disappointing. It was a stuffy bus ride, windy roads, made me feel sick. We stopped at 2 photo opportunities, and now we're in this small village with nothing to do but just walk around and see the buildings. And then we get back on the bus and go back. 120 euro a person for this excursion.
This is definitely
Don't do the snowy road to Lærdal excursion. I would have much rather taken the train, but Jeremy picked this one, so here we are.
Thankfully, the excursion did pick up a bit after Lærdal. We stopped at another scenic point where we can see where the salmon would be if it were salmon season. So that was pretty cool. And I didn't even know this was part of the tour, but we got to stop and see the Borgund Stave church. And it was so cool. So basically, it's known for being the most well-preserved of the Stave churches. The church was built around the year 1180. It has 4 dragons carved into the roof, and it would hold about 50 people inside, and then the rest of the people would have to stand outside for the service of about a few hours.
Smells like wood. Pretty cool, huh?
For the last part of the excursion, we got to go through the world's longest tunnel.
Okay. It was built in 2000. In 2000 was ready after 5 years. There are 3 caverns, so 3 caves, sort of caves, just like where you do.
There's a couple different sections with these blue lights to help keep drivers awake. As you can see, it didn't work for Jeremy. Come on, Jeremy, it's only 25 kilometers long. Once we got back to the ship, we walked around a little bit more until we had to go.
That's what we call a fjord, which is an inlet of water and tall mountains.
But I'd have to say that the best part of the stop was leaving because of this.
In Kiel, the boat doesn't dock right by the city, so instead you have to take a shuttle into the city center, and the shuttle just happens to be a boat shuttle! So we get another boat trip! We did have to pay for this though. It's €15 round trip into the city center. Oh well.
It was a pleasant ride in. It only took about 15 minutes, and you got to see the boats and even some cruise ships along the way.
There's not much to do here, but Jeremy didn't want to stay on the boat, so we got on the boat. So we're gonna walk around, window shop, maybe have some lunch, and then head back.
We didn't have lunch, but we did come across these cool wooden boats and some swans. Before catching the boat taxi back, we stopped at a little cafe and Jeremy had a beer. And that was the last official stop on the cruise itinerary before we disembarked in Copenhagen.
As soon as we got off the metro in Copenhagen, I loved what I saw. I just loved how the city looked, and the buildings and the architecture. So we're just walking around right now, and we come across the Nordhavn, which is the famous harbor with the picturesque buildings. It's very busy here right now. It is a Sunday weekend, and it's very nice out. It's a little cool, but not cold at all. Past the Nordhavn neighborhood, there is a pedestrian bridge that takes you up here to Kristiansand, which is where the Free State of Christianity is.
We only had a couple of hours, so we actually went to this little food stall park to eat lunch. And we had been there the weekend before we got on the cruise ship and wanted to come back. I had the mussels last weekend and they were really good, so I'd highly recommend that. But this time I wanted to try this gasoline grill burger.
with pickles and onions. It's supposed to be a juicy burger. Yep, nice and greasy. And got a milkshake too.
And that was the end of our cruise. My favorite stop was definitely the Flam stop because we got to see the fjords and I just loved it. I've always wanted to see them, so I'm so glad that I finally got to. Thanks for watching.